The auction block on Trading Station Epsilon 7 reeked of desperation and broken dreams. Zareth stood among the other defective merchandise, her violet skin pale from malnutrition, her secondary arms bound tight against her torso. The auctioneer's voice droned through the universal translator, listing her failures in clinical detail. Lot 847, female Zythari, age 23 standard cycles. Diagnosed infertile by 3 certified medical facilities. Unable to produce offspring. Starting bid, 500 credits. The words cut deeper than any blade. In Zythari culture, a female who couldn't bear children had no value. Her own parents had signed the sale documents without meeting her eyes. Her siblings had already divided her childhood belongings. The bidding was pathetic. 200 credits, 150. The auctioneer's mandibles clicked in disgust. 1,000 credits. The voice came from the back deep, rough, speaking accented but clear galactic common. Heads turned. Zareth's eyes widened. A human stood there. Tall, broad-shouldered, with skin the color of burnished copper and black hair tied back. His left arm was cybernetic, military-grade, and a faded scar ran from his temple to his jaw. He wore the simple clothes of a station worker, but his posture screamed soldier. 1,000, he repeated, meeting the auctioneer's shocked gaze that no one counterbid. The gavel fell. His name was Dmitry Volkov, and he didn't speak much as he led her through the station's lower levels. Zareth followed numbly, expecting to be taken to some grimy quarters, to be used and discarded like the worthless thing she was. Instead, he brought her to a small but clean apartment. Medical supplies sat ready on the table. "Sit," he said, not unkindly. She obeyed. He examined her with practiced efficiency, cutting away the bindings on her secondary arms, checking her vitals with a portable scanner. His touch was gentle, clinical, impersonal. "You're malnourished, dehydrated, minor infections in both respiratory systems." He pulled out medication packets. "I was a combat medic. 20 years, Earth Coalition Marines. I know trauma when I see it." Zareth's throat tightened. "Why did you buy me?" "Because no one deserves to be sold like cargo." He handed her a nutrient drink. "And because the medic in me couldn't walk away from someone who needed help." "I'm infertile," she whispered. "I'm useless." Something dark flashed across his scarred face. "Your people told you that." "Doesn't make it true." 3 days passed. Dmitry worked long shifts maintaining the station's oxygen recyclers, but he always returned with food, with medicine, with quiet company. He asked nothing of her, expected nothing. On the 3rd evening, Zareth collapsed. She woke in the station's medical bay, surrounded by beeping machines and the concerned face of a human doctor, a woman named Dr. Amara Singh. "Easy," the doctor said. "You're safe. You gave us quite a scare. What happened?" Dr. Singh smiled. "Congratulations. You're pregnant." The world tilted. "That's impossible." "Apparently not." The doctor pulled up holographic scans. "See this? Perfectly healthy embryo, about 3 weeks along. Human medical scanners work differently than Zythari ones. We found something your people's equipment missed." Zareth stared at the tiny, glowing form. "But the tests were looking for specific Zythari hormonal markers." Dimitri's voice came from the doorway. He stepped inside, cybernetic hand gripping the frame. "I had a hunch. Human medical tech was built for compatibility scanning. We've had to work with dozens of species during the coalition expansion. I asked Dr. Singh to run a full spectrum analysis." Tears streamed down Zareth's face. "I don't understand. Why would they lie?" Dr. Singh's expression darkened. "They didn't lie. They just didn't look hard enough. Your hormone production is slightly atypical, probably a genetic variation. In Zathari medicine, anything outside the norm gets labeled as defective. They never bothered to investigate further. You mean I could have always been able to conceive, Dmitri finished. Your people threw you away over a medical misdiagnosis. The rage came then, hot and righteous. But beneath it, something else bloomed hope, fragile and precious. 6 months later, Zareth stood in Dmitri's apartment, their apartment, now cradling a tiny Zathari infant. Her daughter had her violet skin and her father's eyes. He was a cargo handler she'd met in the station's gardens. A kind male who'd courted her properly, who'd wept with joy at the pregnancy news. Dmitri sat nearby, his cybernetic hand gently rocking a bassinet. Inside, twins human Zathari hybrids from another couple he'd helped slept peacefully. The apartment had become something of a refuge for those the galaxy had deemed unworthy. You saved my life, Zareth said softly. No, Dmitri looked up, that scarred face gentle. I just refused to accept someone else's verdict on your worth. You saved your own life by surviving until someone noticed. Why humans? She asked. Why do your people see what others miss? He was quiet for a long moment. Because we know what it's like to be underestimated, to be called weak, primitive, worthless. We clawed our way to the stars through sheer stubbornness and spite. We learned that labels are just opinions, and opinions can be wrong. Zareth's daughter yawned, tiny fingers grasping. I'm starting a clinic, she announced, for others like me. Free medical screenings using human technology. How many others have been discarded over treatable conditions? Over simple misdiagnosis? Dmitri's rare smile broke through. You'll need funding, space, political clearance. I know a stubborn human veteran who's good at making impossible things happen. He laughed a rough, rusty sound. Then let's get started. As Zareth looked at her daughter, at the life she'd built from ashes, she understood something profound. Humanity's greatest export wasn't their technology or their military might. It was their absolute, bloody-minded refusal to accept that anyone was beyond saving Dot, and sometimes that made all the difference.